Bring you all that news in detail, but first let's start with the check of the Lal Street, where it was an insipid day of trade, with markets ending in the red, led by weakness in banks as well as oil and gas stocks. So Nifty managed to hold on to the 10,800 mark. The Sensex shed 100 points in trade. Among the broader markets, the Bank Nifty underperformed to end with cuts of about 200 points. Mid-caps outperformed today and ended with gains of 0.2%. And from equities to currency, the rupee has weakened after a flat opening. The Indian currency is trading around 70.56 to the dollar. The weakness has been triggered by a strong dollar. A surge in crude oil prices earlier during the session had also contributed to the rupee's fall. And talking of crude oil, crude prices are in the red now following a 5% surge in the previous session. The rally, which was triggered by expectations of a trade deal between the US and China, has been halted now due to the lack of details from the talks between the two countries. A surge in US fuel inventories has also dampened investor sentiment. Well, let's get to the top story this evening. A slew of changes as the GST Council met in the capital in what was the final huddle before the interim budget. So the compliance burden for small businesses has been eased and the exemption limit has been doubled. No decision was taken on real estate due to the lack of consensus, and the matter will now be referred to a group of ministers. Timsy Jaipuria is here with all the key highlights of that decision taken at the GST Council. Timsy, seems like a big relief for small business.
Well, as you rightly mentioned, a major relief for MSME players coming in. Firstly, the minimum threshold for having a GST registration has been increased from 20 lakh rupees to 40 lakh rupees. However, the option is also with states whether to continue with 20 lakh rupees or with 40 lakh rupees as the minimum threshold for GST registrations. States have been given time for up to, in the next 1 week, they have to come back to the GST Council trying to give a clear picture as to whether they want to continue with 20 lakh as a threshold or 40 lakh rupees as a threshold. Secondly, when it comes to compliance for composition taxpayers has been eased very clearly after the decisions that we saw today. 1.5 lakh crore of annual turnover for manufacturers under GST, they can apply for composition tax scheme, where they will be allowed to pay quarterly GST collections as well as file their returns annually. Secondly, for service tax providers with a threshold of up to 50 lakhs, a new composition scheme has been carved out where they will be taxed at a composition tax of 6%. So that eases the burden for MSME very clearly, because that was a long pending demand when it comes to compliance, when it comes to taking a registration number, etc. Now when we move to other key issues, Kerala today has been allowed to levy a 1% cess in the state on the interstate for the state goods, and this they can apply for up to 2 years, which can be given as an exemption to Kerala considering the natural calamity that they faced recently. Now we heard Kerala Finance Minister saying that he will be announcing this particular cess in the upcoming state budget. So all eyes on Kerala state budget as well as to what all goods will have this additional 1% cess. Thirdly, when it comes to the issue of lottery and rate rationalization of real estate, both issues were considering about the rate rationalization have been referred to GOMs. The GOMs are yet to be set up, and soon they'll be put out as to how soon these GOMs will meet and what they'll take up the concerns. We heard Chhattisgarh Finance Minister saying that post-rate rationalization, as per the proposal given by the GST Council today for deliberations, it was thought of that this should not be increasing the burden for home buyers, and that's why a GOM was crafted. Let's see what happens after these GOMs meet and what are the final decisions. Back to you.
Right, absolutely, Timsy. Many thanks for bringing us all the details from there. Now, as the GST Council's 32nd meeting concluded, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley ruled out further rate cuts till an increase in revenue. Now, remember, after crossing the 1 lakh crore rupees mark for September, GST collection figures have seen a decline in October as well as November.
अब दो प्रकार की एग्जेम्पशन लिमिट्स होंगी. पहली वाली का स्लैब 40 लाख होगा, यानी कि जो 20 लाख था उसको डबल कर दिया गया है. और जो इन छोटे राज्यों के लिए जो 10 लाख की लिमिट थी उसको 20 लाख पे रखा गया है. वी विल कंसिडर एनी फर्दर रिडक्शंस ऑन इंडिविजुअल आइटम्स ओनली व्हेन रेवेन्यूज मूव अप.
And we also caught up with Revenue Secretary Ajay Bhushan Pandey. Hear out what he had to say on the key changes approved by the GST Council and the rate rationalization issue going forward.
The GST Council has always been very sensitive to the requirement of business and also to reduce the compliance requirement without much impacting the revenue. So in today's meeting, what the GST Council has approved is that the turnover for the composition has been increased from 1 crore to 1.5 crore. And also to reduce compliance burden on those composition business. They will now be required only to file an annual return instead of quarterly return and make quarterly payments. So this will substantially reduce this compliance requirement on the composition business.
But it took quite
Other very important decision that has been taken is to increase the threshold from 20 lakhs to 40 lakhs.
That's optional.
So for the, no, I mean it's a threshold, right, for the goods. So only those businesses whose turnover exceeds 40 lakh, they will be required to take registration if they are dealing in the goods. And the other important decision that has been taken is that those who are providing these services, they will also be eligible for composition if their turnover is below 50 lakh and they have to just pay 6% of the GST, 3% CGST and 3% for the SGST and only file an annual return and make quarterly payments. So these are the few major decisions which have been taken in the GST Council.
One more quick question. In fact, I'm going to put two of them together. I asked this question to the Finance Minister. In the last meeting also there was a discussion on a couple of big ticket items like cement and other sectors. He said very clearly that we'll take further call looking at the revenue position. How do you look at the revenue position at this stage in time, and that too just 2.5 months before the fiscal ends and first February interim budget?
See, the issue of cement was not discussed it was not on the agenda and it was not discussed.
But I just give that as an example.
As it has been already stated by our Honorable Finance Minister, that any further rate reduction will be decided only after watching the revenue for the next few months. How revenue matter is stabilized.
So where are you on the shortfall right now? Last question.
No, I mean in the sense this shortfall
last time you indicated 60 to 70 approximate.
No. See, the question is that shortfall with respect to what? So I mean,
GST.
right. So the next 3 months the revenue is already we are in the process. Every month we used to get around 98,000 crores so far the GST overall was concerned. In the month of December, we got around 95,000 crores. So let us see during the next 3 months in which direction our revenue goes, and then any decision about the rate reduction will arise.
And now, in less than 3 months for the financial year to draw to a close, the central government is believed to be close to meet its divestment target of 80,000 crore rupees. That's not all. We also learned that the government may be looking at selling a part of its stake in Axis Bank in case they fall short of the target. Sapna Das is here with more. Sapna, what are the possible ways that the government could be exploring at doing this?
Well, we are clearly given to understand that the government will be close to achieving the 80,000 odd crore divestment target for FY19 and
of 80,000 crore rupees, close to meet its divestment target. That's not all. We're also looking at selling a part of its stake in Axis Bank. We learn that the government may be target. Sapna Das is here with more. Sapna, what are the in case they fall short of the possible ways that the government could be exploring at doing this?
Well, we are clearly given to understand that the 80,000 odd crore government will be close to achieving the divestment target for FY19 and
of 80,000 crore rupees, close to meet its divestment target. That's not all. We also take an Axis Bank. We learn that the government may be looking at selling a part of its in case they fall short of the target. More. Sapna, what are the target? Sapna Das is here. Could be exploring at possible ways that the government doing this.
Well, we are 80,000 odd crore government will be close to achieving the clearly given to understand the team and
of 80,000 crore rupees, close to meet its divestment target. That's not all. We also
divestment target for FY9.
learn that the government may be taking Axis Bank in case they fall short of the target. More, Sapna, what are the looking at selling a part of its?
A quick clarification in terms of what happens to the Sudi stake sale in as far as Axis Bank is concerned. Here again, the approach is very clear that this could just be a filler option if FY19 divestment target becomes a challenge. There is no formal decision on that as of now, but a filler option in case the FY19 target is a challenge.
The big national headline of the day, the Prime Minister led 3-member selection committee set to meet again this evening to decide the fate of Alok Verma as the CBI chief. The panel, which also has Justice A.K. Sikri and Congress leader Mallikarjun Kharge as its 2 other members, had met last night as well. However, that meeting had ended inconclusively. Parikshit Luthra joins us now with more. Parikshit, what are the expectations from today's meeting? Any word on how it might proceed?
Well, the meeting was supposed to begin post 4 p.m. It hasn't begun as yet. This meeting will be very, very crucial because yesterday Mallikarjun Kharge had demanded a copy of the CBC report. He had demanded that Alok Verma, the CBI director, be given a chance to defend himself as well. Now, we're told by our top sources that, yes, Mallikarjun Kharge was given that CBC report, also Alok Verma's reply to that. Today, what's going to happen is that Mallikarjun Kharge is going to demand full reinstatement of Alok Verma and also ask that those 77 days that he has lost, that he was sent on leave for, should be compensated because his tenure is going to end on the 31st of January. So Mallikarjun Kharge is likely to ask for an extension as well. Having said that, he would also ask for investigation into charges against Alok Verma that were there in the CBC report. He also wants other documents, other evidence to be brought forth, and he wants Alok Verma to depose before the committee as well. So let's see how this goes. It's possible that we might not get a final word today as well.
Right, Parikshit. So we'll continue to touch base and see what transpires as and when that meet happens. Many thanks for joining us with all the details from there. Now, the Supreme Court has deferred the hearing of the Ayodhya title dispute case to the 19th of January. The move came after Justice U.U. Lalit, who was part of the 5-judge bench, recused himself after petitioner raised a red flag. Ashmit Kumar is here with more details. Ashmit, what happened in court today and what comes next now?
Time in this year, in January of this year, we've faced a problem as far as the Ayodhya hearing is concerned. It hasn't been able to proceed. The last time it happened was, of course, when Justice Gogoi said that a special bench, an appropriate bench, will be constituted. Then we saw the 5-judge bench being constituted, but then there was a problem that had been red flagged by the petitioners. The problem here appears to be that has been red flagged by the petitioners is that one of the 5 judges, that's Justice U.U. Lalit, who was a lawyer before being elevated as a judge of the apex court, appeared for Kalyan Singh, the former chief minister of the state of Uttar Pradesh at the time of the Babri Masjid demolition, and he appeared for Kalyan Singh in the criminal proceeding that had been undertaken. And since it is associated directly to the matter at hand, directly to the demolition of the Babri Masjid, directly to the Ayodhya land dispute, as of right now, what we understand is that Justice U.U. Lalit, given the concerns that have been red flagged, has decided to recuse himself from the proceedings. What that necessarily means is that a new bench will have to be constituted. Justice Gogoi has, in fact, as a part of today's order, clarified that going forward, a new bench will be constituted. There will be a replacement that will be sought in place of Justice U.U. Lalit. The hearing, we understand, will resume on January 29th. And one, of course, important aspect is that has been a stumbling block throughout the whole of 2018 and early 2019 as well, has been the translation of the documents in question. Mind you, there are 15 trunks of documents that had to be translated. There are concerns about the accuracy of those translations. The registrar of the apex court has been given the directions to verify whether or not the translations are accurate, and they will have to come back with their report by January 29th, and that's when we can understand some forward movement wherein the apex court will perhaps give a timeline, give a roadmap of sorts as far as the Ayodhya land dispute hearing is concerned. Thank you.
Right, Ashwin. Many thanks for getting us all the details from there. But moving on, a digital payment industry body, the Payments Council of India, isn't satisfied with the constitution of the RBI Committee on Digital Payments. Speaking to CNBC TV 18's Mugdha Wariyar, PCI Chairman Vishwas Patel said that the RBI panel should have had direct representation of digital payment players. Here's an excerpt of that conversation.
What are your thoughts on the membership of this committee? Because we understand there is no direct representation from the digital payments industry.
Right. As Payment Council of India, we were not aware that such a committee was being constituted. Though we would like that someone from the Payment Council of India, because our membership constitutes of almost all the payment gateway players, all the card networks, all the ATM providers, all the POS providers. In essence, if I were to put it, our membership constitutes almost 95% plus of all the payments that are processed in the country. So someone from Payment Council of India, if they were to be there on the committee, I think this committee would have found it better that one of the core committee members himself has enough idea of the issues that are plaguing the payment industry, instead of just seeking on the representations that like what PCI will be making to the committee.
So you mentioned the issues in the digital payments industry, and the sector has been plagued by certain issues, starting with data localization, the Aadhaar ruling, the KYC norms, and so on. How do you think this committee will work on these issues?
I think there are so many issues that are plaguing right now, though the growth has been phenomenal. But having said that, it can be even more phenomenal now. There are certain issues that needs to be resolved on priority. Data localization was a good step. It helped where every data stays for better law enforcement.